gotten to know if he wasn't your DC?
Um, yeah, just again his tireless work ethic. I think I've probably always, with him being as good of a coach as he's been in this league for this long, I think I probably would have been able to guess that he works his butt off. But he's always looking at tape, watching tape, looking for new ways to do things, better ways to do what he already does, and just to really admire his work ethic and how he goes about work every single day.
We'll go to Brooks and then Ruben.
Hey, Nick, in training camp to start, you had said you were excited about the linebacker position in particular. Just the way that Zack Baun and Nakobe Dean have played. I know in Vic Fangio, it seems like this is a specialty of his, obviously. I'm wondering how much you think the emphasis of that position has dictated a bit how the defense has played this year.
Yeah, I think defense as a whole, it takes everybody. Like defensive football, football in itself, it's always going to take everybody. Um, Defense, it's so critical that you're on the same page, that you're flying to the football, that you're playing with good fundamentals. And linebackers are a big part of that. And our linebackers have been, Zack and Nakobe have played really well. But again, like I said, it takes everybody on defense. But sure, yeah, like I said in training camp and still saying right now, excited about that room, excited about those guys, and they're having a good season. But we also know that we're only as good as our next game, and we got to put our head down and work and go do it again. But those guys have done a nice job to date.
We'll go to Ruben and then John.
Hey, Nick, you guys now have the best road record in the NFL since you started in 21. I think you moved past the Chiefs when they lost to the Bills yesterday. What goes into that? What do you attribute that to? And what do you guys do to treat those road games in a way that leads to success?
Yeah, you want to be calm in situational football. And so we do a lot of things in situations, not only in the meeting room, but also also out at practice every single day. We've done that through training camp. We do that every single day in practice. And so again, being calm in situations is critical. Being able to on offense, being able to handle the noise and to communicate in the noise is going to be really critical. And so that, practicing that every single time it gets annoying to hear the crowd noise as you go, but that's a big deal. But then it's just having, I think the biggest thing out of all that is just having that mental toughness that, everyone's going to be against you on the road. Now, we travel pretty well, and I've been really appreciative of the Eagles fans that show up no matter where we are. But you still feel like the stadium's against you, and it's just an opportunity for you to unite as a team, lock arms as a team, and have that mental toughness, that dog mentality, as far as understanding, just play the next play, control what you can control, and unite as a team. And so those are two of our big time core values of connect and toughness, and and so we take pride in that. And I just think it speaks volumes of our players and coaches that that they handle that. And so that's I didn't know that stat, Rube. That's a cool stat, and we take pride in that because again, it's just an opportunity for us to lock arms and go at it together and try to battle all game and win.
We'll go to John. We'll go to John and then Olivia.
Hi, Nick. You've had a history of starting well here, 9-1, 9-1, now 8-2. 1 year you've been able to sustain it. 1 year you probably didn't go as far as you would have liked. Is that something that's helped you learn from each aspect of that? Because handling success can be, different than handling failure.
Sure. Yeah, and then the first year too, even in 21, we started I think 2-5 and finished 7-2. So we've had a couple different paths there. Every season's a little bit different, but learning from all your circumstances, yeah, you again, it's about your mindset and trying to handle what you can control, right? Because having success can be just as dangerous as having failure, as far as the scoreboard says. And so, again, it's just so important that we have that mindset, that we aren't focused on anything else, not the past, not the future, just literally where we are. And we try to talk about that every single day. showing the mountain that we're going to climb, and that, hey, you can't look up, you'll slip. You can't look down, you'll have a mistake, and just being locked into where you are. And so does that mean it goes perfectly every time? No, obviously not. But that's the mindset we tried to have. I think mental toughness is just as important in this game of football as physical toughness. And so we try to pride ourselves in that. And yeah, of course you try to learn from your mistakes of the past. I think that if you're referring to last year, yeah, we learned a lot from that, and we're on the path that we are from a lot of the lessons and a lot of the adversity that we went through last year to end the season. And so and we'll have to continue to learn those lessons to put ourselves in positions to move forward. But really, at the end of the day, we're not worried about anything but this next football game that we have.
We'll go to Olivia and then Ed.
Hey, Nick, this is going to be your first, you're going to be preparing for a Rams defense without Aaron Donald. First of all, how much extra sleep do you get this week, if any? And then B, how has the Rams defensive front changed their approach to getting after the quarterback in his absence?
Yeah, had the privilege to work with Chris Shula at the Chargers. Got a lot of respect for him as a football coach. So I think he's doing an outstanding job. They still have really good players. Any good player keeps you up, Olivia. Any good player keeps you up. And not that I'm sad that Aaron Donald is not going to be there, but they got a good defensive line. Chris is doing a great job of lead, and Sean are doing a good job of leading that defense. And so, we're early in our studies. Obviously had some more time to study him, but a lot of our time was devoted towards self-scout and then early studies onto the Rams. But we're early on with those things. But yeah, Chris has put his own spin on this defense, and and they're playing well. It's a good football team. And we're going to have a challenge this weekend.
We'll go to Ed and then Tim.
Yeah, hi, Nick. Your offense continues to show this ability to hit the big play, 40-plus yards. You had another one on Thursday night, a short throw. Saquon turned into, I think it was a 40-yard reception. But I think you have 14 of those, only 9 last year. What is the reason, do you think, for that increase this season?
Yeah, a lot goes into that, and it's always going to start up front with the protection. It's going to go to everyone being on the same page as far as having a hat for a hat. Then it's going to be the route discipline of, if you're obviously talking about the pass game, people being in the right spots. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, hey, if you're supposed to be +1 outside the numbers, chopping at the top, then you got to be +1 at the numbers, chopping at the top. And if this guy's job is to clear out, then he's got to put his head down and run like he's going to get the football. So, and then it's Jaylen getting to the right place with the football, delivering an accurate ball, and then our playmakers making plays, because there's been a variety of those, right? There's been Smitty going up and Jaylen putting a perfect ball on Smitty in the back of the end zone, Smitty dragging his feet at the top. And then this one's a little different, right? Jaylen checks it down and Saquon getting it. So it takes everybody. That's what's so cool about football. You heard me say that a million times. Football, it takes everybody. And it's truly, and then Kellen dialing it up at the specific time. And the coaches coaching it up, so all those things happen. So that's just good team football. I think that you attribute that to, and we'll look to continue to have success on those explosive plays.
We'll go to Tim and then Martin.
Nick, what have you noticed about the dynamic between Slay and Quinyon, and maybe how they've been sort of beneficial for one another?
Yeah, I think I can't say enough. I think I've said this plenty of times here. I can't say enough good things about Slay and the leader that he is. Like, he's been voted a captain 3 years in a row now, and the reason being is he's just such a good leader. He's such a good teammate, and I think that that's something that you don't get to hear about Slay enough. Like, you hear about the special play that he has, but man, he's always has the best interests of his teammates at heart. A good heart. I mean, he's just a great teammate. And so I think that when you're a young player like Q and somebody that plays the same position as you is taking you under your wing, I think that's a special deal, especially of a player of the caliber that Slay is. Who Q's probably been watching since he's been 10 years old, or I age Slay that much. Yeah, probably 10, 12 years old, which is crazy, right? And so I mean, I think a lot of it goes to, and Q being humble to take advice from a guy that's done it at a high level, right? And so I think the relationship is cool because it's two guys that both, no ego involved. Now, trust me, when Slay and Q get out there, they think they can cover anybody, and they can cover anybody. So they have the ego in that, but like they're able to put that aside, which all good players do, but they're able to put that aside and say, how do my, Slay saying, how do I help my young teammate get better for the good of the team? And Q's saying, hey, man, this guy with all this good knowledge is willing to help me out. How do I listen to it? So it's really cool. And it's like, I admire that, first and foremost with Slay, and Q's just done a nice job of, putting his head down and working. And so, yeah, I appreciate you asking that question because it gives me a chance to brag on both those guys and the type of people that they are.
We'll go to Martin and then Zach.
Hey, Nick. I know a lot has been made, particularly by us, about Saquon's touches and everything, but how valuable is it to have a guy like Kenny Gainwell? He had the big 3 fourth-quarter runs that set up the go-ahead touchdown. And kind of what is he doing differently or better this year than, past years?
Yeah, first, Kenny, has always taken advantage of his opportunities, and this year's no different. I don't think Kenny. I think Kenny's doing the same things he's done here since the moment I've gotten here, and then he got here too, right? We came in together. There's a lot that I do where I'll go back and watch tape, whether it's a situational football from 21, 22, 23, 24. Again, just you're always looking and trying to improve that way. And I remember I watched every third down that we had on our way to Brazil. I watched every third down that we had here in the past 3 years. Long trip, nothing to do. There wasn't. Someone gave me a couple shows to watch, and I don't think I just wanted to watch tape instead. Anyway, Kenny Gainwell was all over that tape, making plays all over that tape. And so to answer your question, Mark, I don't think he's doing anything different. I think he's just taking advantage of his opportunities, and because he's always done that. He's always been the second back or the third back. In 21, there was a game that he was down. I remember that he wasn't active for, and he was like, "That ain't happened to me again," and it hasn't. And like he's so reliable of a football player. We've had faith in Kenny. Again, not blind faith. We've had faith because of the way he's produced here since very early on, and he continues to be that guy that we can have faith in, and he's contributing on special teams and taking a bigger role on that. He's tough, he's dependable, great teammate. You ask the guys on this team what they think about Kenny Gainwell, I think everyone will say the same thing. So, and there's a reason, he's been on this team for 4 years and have made some very significant plays. It's because we love him. We think he's a great teammate. We think he's a great football player. And that, as you guys ask me these questions, and I'm talking about this guy and that guy, and that's why this team is continuing to gel together, is because of the guys that we have on this team, the emphasis we put on team, but most importantly, the guys that we have on this team coming together, because these guys make it, again, there's just so many good teammates. A tribute to Howie and his staff and as Howie and I talk, going into each draft, like we talk about, how important it is that these guys love football. These guys have high character and all these different things when we talk about players.
We'll go to Zach and then Bob.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. I know you've discussed this in some other settings, but I wanted to ask you here when Saquon brings the ball to the 2 or the 1 yard line, are you ever compelled to just let him finish the job? And have you had to have that conversation with whether it's Saquon, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Zach. I think, yes, you are always compelled to do, you always think about that. I think one thing we think about a lot in the red zone, without getting giving out too much information, Zach, because I want to answer your question and be respectful of your question. Like a quarterback sneak, it's tough to lose yardage there, right? So when you come out and the worst thing that you can do in red zone football is move backwards, right? that's one of the worst things that can happen there and put you behind the sticks. You always want to stay ahead of the sticks because things get harder and tighter down there as you move down in there. So, we've had a lot of success with the quarterback sneak. Jaylen scored a lot of touchdowns. And so there are times where, yeah, again, I want to be careful how I'm answering this, but I, again, want to answer your question. But I think that's probably the best way I can say that. Saquon's done a great job of how many touchdowns does he have this year? I actually don't know.
I think it's 8 overall.
And Jaylen and rushing?
You stumped me there. I got to look that.
Sorry. Well, and it's not he's getting us down there, yes. And he's got 8 touchdowns, and excited for him on that. And he's playing at a high level. And so, but I think Saquon's a great teammate. And yeah, good question.
Have you spoken to him, DeAndre and Miles, about that particular sequence?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we always talk about that. And so we talk about everything that, and again, like I said, we've had some incredible guys here that are great teammates that always want to do what's best for the team.
We'll go to Bob and then Bo.
Jaylen is 11. You had a bunch of young guys on defense, and they've obviously played a major role in the defense's success. But they're going to start going into territory now where you're playing more games than they ever have in their lives. And then you got, on top of that, you had Jaylen, I think, play every defensive snap. Jaylen Carter play every defensive snap the other night. How big a concern is that, and how do you approach that, making sure that they're ready for the long haul of an NFL season?
Yeah, obviously that's always on our mind. How do we keep these guys as fresh as possible? And especially guys that haven't played this long of a season, because it's a marathon. I think the best way to get better at football is playing football, right? And so the practice is critical, right? Us practicing hard on Wednesday, Thursday, obviously take it a little bit lighter on Friday, is critical to help us continue to get better with our fundamentals, like of blocking and block destruction and tackling and getting and taking care of the football and taking the football away. And so you intend to get better, but there's a fine line in the sense of, hey, we got to keep getting better through practice and playing games, and also keeping guys fresh through the long haul. So everybody's a little bit different depending on what they're going through, what their history's been. Everyone has an individualized plan. I won't obviously get into everybody's individualized plan, Bob, with you, but everybody's thought of individually, and to make sure that those things are taken care of. Again, so if they have to do extra fundamentals, then we do extra fundamentals. If they have to have a little extra or less practice time because they're dealing with something, or they have a big load the game before, then we handle that as well. But a lot of science goes into that. People that help me with that are really appreciated. Our strength staff, our doctors, our trainers. But we got to continue to get better at football, and to do that, you got to play, you got to practice. But good question. Again, all that is thought through by us and the rest of the staff that works in this building, not just us as coaches.
Thank you. We'll go to Bo and then Jeff.
Hey, Nick, I want to ask you about the 3 oldest guys on the roster. So Slay, BG, and Lane. I know that they have been here with you, but when you are entering the year trying to reset what your culture is, what you guys are about, how important are those 3 to you in carrying forth that culture?
Yeah, huge. And I think I've said this plenty of times when I walked in as a first-year head coach. Like, what other first-year head coach has 4 offensive and defensive linemen that have played 9, 10 plus years? Like, I don't think there's a lot of first-year coaches that have that I had with Jason and Fletch and Lane and BG. And so I know you mentioned Slade too. And so it's huge. Like, it was huge day 1, year 1, and it's huge day 1, year 4. And it's huge day whatever we are right now, 157, day 4, right? And so these guys are great leaders. You heard me kind of gush about Slay already, and what makes him special. Lane, man, Lane's awesome. just as an awesome player, obviously, as you guys know. But I just love how he pumps up the scout team and lets the scout team know how much better they're making him and preparing him to play each week because he knows how important that is. So, Lane's a great teammate in that sense, and you guys have been around BG. There's nobody like him that brings that type of energy every single day that he brings. And it's such positive energy. And so those three guys, there's a reason there's a C on the chest, that they have a C on their chest. They lead every day. They work every day. They're the type of players that they are. And our team and our guys, our players, our coaches, our building is lucky to have those three type of leaders. I could go on and on about that, about these guys. They really do a great job of, first leading by example and then leading the rest of the guys.
Is it actually day 157?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll go to Jeff and then finish with Chris.
Nick, do you feel better or worse about your team after watching Sunday's games?
Yeah, there was I actually watched a little bit. I was kind of on and off as doing some dad stuff and doing some things too as, for our self-scout. I try not to get too wrapped up into that. You try to learn from the things that you do watch. I'll have a big morning tomorrow watching all the situations across the league tomorrow morning with a couple guys. And so I could probably have a better answer then. But, a couple things that we learned from as we watched it live yesterday. But like I said, I was in and out on that. So it was good for us, Jeff, to relax, to get some self-scout stuff down, to get some early starts on the Rams. But, with this long, having our bye early, and then, really appreciate the way the season has worked out because we had the bye early, have your mini bye now. We got another 7 games coming up, right? And so it was important for our guys to rest as well, and some guys get away from it. Some guys are still intertwined in it. I guess I was kind of a little bit of both, doing some work on the side and then doing some dad stuff. We had some good catches. Had a catch a couple times. I think that's how you say it here, right? Had a catch. We played catch. We played catch and got better at football a little bit over at the Sirianni household.
We'll finish with Chris here.
Afternoon, Nick. We've seen what Jaylen Carter's done on the field. Where has he improved off the field from last season, and what impact has he had on some of his teammates or his intangibles overall?
Yeah, good question, Chris. To play every play that he played, I think it shows you how good a shape he's in and how that's cardio, that's physical, that's so many different things. Like that's eating the right things, the nutrition. And so again, it wasn't like 66 sloppy plays, right? He made an impact on that game. You guys saw it, and he hustled every single play. I mean, you have to be in phenomenal shape to be able to do that. So I think as far as, off the field, you really notice the time that he's put into the weight room, put into his body, and it's really showing up on Sundays.
Thanks for the